Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we are super happy to have you here, and we just ask that you bring an open mind and heart to your listening experience and to be prepared to explore vantage points that I'm convinced will help shift or solidify your current understanding of the ultimate nature of reality in a way that is extremely empowering. Speaking of exploring powerful perspectives, I'm super excited to announce the release of my very first book, The Golden Key: Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance. If you're ready to alchemize the circumstances in your life so that your abundance expands to an entirely new level in 2021, head over to goldenkey.gift to download the audio or ebook as my gift to you by using the code POSITIVEHEAD. All right, all you positive heads, here we grow again. It is a terrific Thursday. Fantabulous even Thursday here in the studio as I record. So appreciative, grateful to be able to connect, grow with each and every one of you yet again. Here we go. All right, let's just dive in. I'm going to start off with a review here on iTunes. This one came in by Perrier, like Perrier, but with the R and E flipped. Yeah, Perrier. Perrier said, when I need reminding, Positive Head is there. After a very chance encounter at a family wedding with a person who I identified with immediately, we friended on Facebook. I've been practicing the law of attraction for 2 years, and this allows me to see interaction for what it truly is. This person gifted me crystals at the reception and left back to Arizona where she is a homeopathic MD. In my gratitude messages via Facebook Messenger, she opened the door to Positive Head and there was no going back. Brandon and company, I love what you guys do. I have full appreciation that you embrace channeling of information for those of us that live on many different levels and platforms. Your openness and true intent is very evident, and you always embrace your guests with all they offer. Thank you for what you do. You fulfill needs of many. Cheers. Oh, thank you so much, Perrier, for taking the time to review and complete the circle of love that I'm putting out into the world. As of recording this, I just came out with the Judy Hall soul share yesterday, the crystal lady, the crystal Bible lady. If anyone's like the authority on crystals, it's her. And so nice little synchronicity there. I like how you mentioned also the channeling of information to those of us that live on many different levels and platforms, because that sort of ties into the story that I want to share real quick. Here at the top of the show today, this whole idea that we have such a level of multi-dimensional connectivity, and it's sort of like different angles to experience. I've shared the story before of my ex-partner who helped her former life self cross over, and that changed the trajectory of her crossing over when she passed. I just had my friend, dear friend Coco, who longtime P head and who's actually co-hosted the show before, and she was just contacting me saying, talking about me being connected or feeling very connected to my grandmother and how she had a vision. She's been having like medium type stuff happen for her lately in the last year or so. And she said she was brushing her teeth or doing something, menial. And all of a sudden she got a flash of her past life, in the 40s where she felt like she had twins. And we had talked about this before. My grandmother had twins, my mom being one of them, and her feeling like a really strong connection to my grandmother. And then so in this vision she had this morning, she then had my grandmother come to her and see how my grandmother actually comforted her former self, because in the vision she got of her former self, she was standing in front of the crib, two like babies in a crib, and crying because she didn't know what to do. And then my grandmother, who of course had been through some pretty difficult, she had 4 children and 2 of them were special needs children. So, my grandmother's energy came through and then was like comforting her past self, she felt like. And so there's been a lot of those sort of stories lately. And so, I shared the story from Joe Dispenza where he sort of was connecting with his child self and then a future self and sort of seeing from different it's kind of like we see in these time travel movies where they're observing their past self or whatever. And it seems like that sort of thing is really linked to types of things that happen multidimensionally. I not only connected with my grandmother in the dream state last week for the first time. She's been gone, over 20 years. And for the first time last week, I think I shared that last week on the show with you guys. You can hear that story. But then I had my own sort of multidimensional perspective shifting dream maybe 2 nights ago where it was very similar to a lot of the stuff that keeps bubbling up where I was in the dream. I was me observing little me at like 2 or 3 years old. And that 2 or 3 years old me was in the yard, in the front yard, I believe. And there was, I grew up in Virginia and during the fall, all the leaves change like crazy to orange and yellow and red, and they all fall. And so here it is in the fall. All these leaves are falling, all these beautiful multicolored leaves. And I'm, 2-year-old, 3-year-old me is like looking at them in like marveling at these leaves on the ground, the ones that are falling. And I was simultaneously observing as my current, mentality and mindset. But I was also tapping into what the little me was thinking and feeling. And it was so profound and beautiful. Little me was like so curious and just like innocent and yet powerful. It was really, really a beautiful experience to sort of somewhat similar to Joe Dispenza's in the book Becoming Supernatural. I think I shared that story a few weeks ago where I think he tapped into a 7-year-old self, right? And it was very similar to that, except his happened in a meditation. Mine was in a dream state. So, definitely different platforms, different levels. When me and Coco, she was sharing her story with me this morning, we spoke briefly. And it's we were just acknowledging how it's just like this multidimensional veil seems to be thinning. This seems to be like, getting these glimpses into it's like various versions of ourself always interacting or helping ourself. Like, so what we think of as like spirit guides or, higher self or, angels, these are all other aspects of us helping and giving feedback and observing us. Right. And she had shared the story where she had that sort of interaction with her higher self, where she was simultaneously seeing through her eyes and the higher self was seeing her laying on her bed in a meditative state. And they were both like geeking out like, oh, my gosh, we did it. We planned to do this and we didn't know if it was possible and we pulled it off, and that's the kind of thing that just it seems to be bubbling up an awful lot. And it's pretty darn cool. So I just thought I would share that this morning. I love the magical stories and love to share them as they bubble up for your own pondering and consideration, if you please. And furthermore, I'm going to continue on. Any of you saw my post in the Positive Heads Facebook group knows why I had to use the word furthermore, because I'm fancy like that. I'm going to read. And by the way, if you're not in the Positive Heads Facebook group, get in there. There's thousands of amazing P-heads connecting, sharing, supporting each other. It's such a beautiful group, and we'd love to have you. That being said, furthermore, I'm going to continue on with reading actually an email that came in from Whitney maybe a week or so ago. And it was such a powerful sort of breakthrough and perspective that she shares, a growth edge that she shared that's, sort of, as she puts it, simple yet profound. And I certainly agree with that, her perspective, enough so that I would like to read it. So this came in from Whitney, and I'll go ahead and read it, and then we'll talk a little about it. Hi, Brandon. I have been listening to your show for a little over a year now. I started from episode 1, and I'm on about 380 or something like that now. Oh, you have about 500 episodes to go. I think we just hit 888 yesterday. Infinity. I digress. Here we go. I just wanted to say that I had a small breakthrough the other day. It really isn't much, and trust me, I've had way more interesting things that have happened to me on my spiritual journey. I've seen things and I've felt things that strengthened my spiritual beliefs, but this one was so subtle and yet so powerful. I believe that we are the creators of our own reality, just like your show believes, and that we manifest our lives with every waking thought. I like to believe that I'm a fairly positive person. I rarely bump into sticky, or negative situations, and if I do, I try to make them blah, blah, Count Chocula. I try to make the best of it. It's pretty hard for someone to put me in a bad mood, and it's even harder for me to ever get really, truly angry at something. So, because I admit this mindset most of my days, I haven't manifested a lot of negative things or people into my life. I mean, I've had my fair share of misfortunes and awful things that have happened to me. Don't get me wrong, like car problems, injuries, ended relationships, money troubles, stubbed toes, etc. But in particular, I had a small negative thing happen to me this weekend that awakened another small part of me. I'd asked my dad to come with me skiing at a resort near our town because I realized that I don't spend so much one-on-one time with him as I should. Anyways, my dad is getting fairly old, and so his driving scares me a little bit. But I still let him drive because telling him otherwise would really upset him. He doesn't have the best driving habits. He doesn't ever use his blinker. He drives way too fast, and he really just doesn't pay attention too much anymore. Now, I know what you'll say, Brandon. Well, Whitney, I would watch your words about your father because the more you say he's a bad driver, the worse of a driver he'll become. I completely agree, and so I'm going to watch my words and thoughts about that after I tell this story. Fair enough, Whitney. So we're driving up this winding mountain to get to this resort, and he's driving way too fast and not using his blinker, and I'm just getting very annoyed. This is such selfish behavior, and it drives me crazy. Now, if I were a friend, I may say something, but my dad gets very upset about this stuff, especially since he is aging and doesn't want to be reminded on how to drive. And so I just kept my thoughts to myself because I didn't want to taint the one day we actually spend quality time together. But I think we all know what keeping things bottled up does to you. My insides were literally burning with anger, annoyance, and frustration. The thoughts going through my mind were so negative that the only possible outcome of me telling him he was an awful driver were if we were to finally get into a car accident. I know that is awful, but I just didn't want to start an argument with him over something so stupid, especially an argument that we shouldn't even be having. We finally arrived at the resort, and my emotions had finally shifted to a more positive tone because we weren't in the car anymore, and we had skiing to look forward to. I love my dad very much, and so I was looking forward to some quality father-daughter time. He goes to buy a ski pass, and I wait in the lounge patiently because I don't mind just sitting and taking in the moment. I credit your amazing show for this. It was a particularly busy day because we had just gotten snow. It was a 4-day weekend, and it was beautiful, and it was a beautiful day. We finally put on our skis, but the line to get into the lift was so long that the end of the line wasn't on a flat surface anymore. We were waiting on a little slope, which, as you know, on skis, you're going to slide down a slope whether you want to or not. So I unintentionally start to lose stability and slide down with not very much control. I finally get control of myself and regain my balance. As I'm doing this, a lady behind me who I had passed when I was sliding down uncontrollably said something like, "Oh, you don't need to apologize. It's fine." I looked at her confused and just said, "What?" Because I genuinely had no idea what she was talking about. She then continued to say that I'd bumped into her skis. Once I realized this, I apologized with a simple, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that I did that." Nothing more, nothing less. If I'd realized what I'd done, I would have apologized immediately after I'd bumped into her. But because I didn't know, and she had just assumed that I knew, her ego reacted so fast to attack me that I didn't feel the need to apologize any more than I had already. Okay, so finally, the moral of the story. As I had said earlier, I never run into negative situations like this. The last time I unintentionally provoked someone and had them get angry with me that I can remember was a couple years ago. So something like this may happen to other people a lot, but not to me. It really didn't affect the rest of my day. It didn't change my mood or anything, but I admit I did think about it a lot. I believe that this was mainly, again, because this sort of occurrence rarely happens, and so I was still just a bit shocked. As we were finally skiing down the beautiful mountain, my mind was starting to get clearer. I started to process what had happened. That small reaction from that random stranger was no mistake. Because of my negative mood the entire morning up to the resort, I literally attracted this lady into my day. I'm surprised I didn't attract anything more negative. My energy had such a negative vibe to it still that I was attracting someone with a similar energy that day. But little did she know she had attracted me to her as well. Maybe she also had a testing day for herself, even though it was still just the morning. Maybe her ride up to the resort wasn't so pleasant too. Or maybe once she got there, she couldn't find any parking. And even further, once she got to the lounge, she couldn't find a place to sit. And then to top it all off, lines were incredibly long. Oh boy, her ego was looking for someone to attack that day, just waiting patiently for the right suitor to come along. Then there I was, barreling down the hill, bumping into her. My ego had been looking for her just as much as hers had been looking for me. I needed something to feed my annoyance again, and she needed a reason to make her day worse. Now, why was this story so important to me? Because this was the first time I had actually acknowledged that I had done this to myself. It was the first time that I saw my negative manifestation so clearly and so fast. It was such a clear view of the law of attraction, or whatever you want to call it. When seemingly negative things had happened to me in the past, I would instantly shift the blame to anything but myself. Or it would at least take a little bit longer for me to accept that the only person to blame was myself all along. Everyone knows that when you are having a bad day, bad things keep happening. But how many times do you actually see the light and realize that it was all your own doing right away? I mean, we all know these things. We hear them every day on your podcast, and we've been taught these things our whole lives without really truly believing and understanding them. I know that what you think about, you bring about. It has been the basis of my beliefs for years now, but never have I ever had such a clear sign and such a fast manifestation of the negative thoughts in my head. I mean, I know I have, but I've never actually been aware of them. I know that was such a long and maybe unnecessary story, but it was so powerful for me that I had to share. Thank you for all that you do. Without your podcast, I may have never had the realization that my thoughts truly are powerful and always attracting. Listening to you every day isn't really to gain information. For me, it's to hear the messages over and over until one day it finally clicks, just like it did that day. Thank you, Whitney. Oh, well, certainly a necessary story, Whitney. Thank you for sharing. It's such a powerful perspective to get a glimpse into your aha moment, right? And that's exactly what I talk about on the show all the time is like, it's a daily conscious effort. I repeat myself. You guys that listen all the time, you know how much I repeat myself. It's like rewiring our brains, right? Neurons that fire together, wire together as we continue to reprogram, reformat our brain. It's in our hearts and our minds and our perspectives. It takes repetition to become, what is it? To be like a master of something that's like, I think they say like 10,000 hours, right? So it takes a lot to really, ground these concepts in. And that story is so powerful when you start expanding to encompass the other person and their perspective and how, understanding that, it's like Don Miguel Ruiz's 4 agreements. My favorite one is it's never personal, right? It's never, ever personal. That woman, it wasn't really personal. It was a culmination of her experiences, her perspective, her life. You, Whitney, in that case, bumping into her was just 2 forces that were similar enough vibration that are coming together and colliding in a sense, right? It's not really a personal attack from her. Before we continue on with today's episode, I'd like to take a moment to share an exciting new development in my world that can benefit those of you who are ready to get out there and travel. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, at some point you've most likely heard me talk about my personal hero's journey tale regarding the Inc. fastest growing private travel company I co-founded that imploded back in 2015. Well, out of the ashes of that challenging lesson, my brother and I started a new travel company called Hello Vacay, and an exciting new chapter has just unfolded in my travel company saga as Hello Vacay recently secured a huge partnership with the world's largest online travel agency, Priceline. Essentially, due to our past success working with them all those years ago, they have agreed to give us access to their deeply discounted private wholesale booking rates. Our new site, hellovacay.com, is sort of like the Costco for hotel and alternate accommodations because it allows anyone to get access to these wholesale rates, which are up to 50% off the normal booking rates you'll find on all the other major online travel sites. The only caveat is that Priceline won't let us display these rates publicly because they're so much lower than even what you would see at Priceline.com. So to offer them, they insisted that we have a paid membership for people to get access to these much lower rates. And we have decided to give you all a free 1-year membership, which is currently $99 a year and most likely going to go up in price in the future. All we ask in return to redeem this $99 valued free year membership is to help us get the word out by taking 2 seconds to reshare a post about our launch on social media. Once you're a member, you will see that the discounts vary from city to city and season to season, but if you're traveling with any regularity, your savings will easily add up to hundreds or even thousands of dollars a year. I personally saved over $200 in one weekend when I went to Seattle not too long ago. Also, I'm honestly not sure how long my brother and partner will agree to allow me to run this free year offer. He's already changed it a few times on me, so if you plan to travel at all in the coming year, be sure to go to hellovacay.com/free year where you can easily reshare our launch post and then sign up to take advantage and get free access to wholesale travel booking rates while we're still offering it. That's spelled HELLOVACAY.com/free year. Journey well, everyone. Couple takeaways too from the dad situation, right? Whitney, you had said that well, if I told him he's an awful driver, it would just, blow things out of proportion. Just a perspective that I think could help with that sort of situation. Whenever you can create empathy, you can create connection instead of separation, right? How could you have dealt with that in a way that created unity instead of oneness, instead of separation? Hey, try something like this. Hey, Dad, I'm a little nervous in the car sometimes, especially driving up these mountains, and I know how much you love me and how much I love you. And I really want to make it there in one piece. And I'm probably even being just overly anxious, for whatever reason. And I just wanted to bring it to your awareness because I don't want to upset you or anything like that. But I really love you and I want to make it. I want us to enjoy this day skiing. And, my own personal fears are popping up, probably, nothing to do with reality other than my own fears that something could happen on the road. So could you help me to calm my own anxiety down by slowing down because you love me so much? And I would really, really appreciate that. I mean, if you approach it with something like that, it's going to be hard for him to get mad at you, right? So whenever you could create unity instead of separation with how you're dealing with a trying situation, waiting until the car wreck probably isn't the answer. Good thing it didn't happen. Good thing it was just bumping on the skis instead, right? But I just wanted to share my perspective on how anytime you're having a challenging person or thing or issue that's popping up out there, think about it from a new perspective. How would you, if you're thinking about it from the perspective of the person who got bumped on the ski slope. That's exactly what Whitney did. She did that so elegantly and saying, hey, maybe she's having this, maybe she's having that. Maybe she had a rough morning. Maybe, all of these things, right? She's putting herself in the other woman's shoes. So putting yourself in your father's shoes and saying, okay, he's getting older. That's probably not easy. His reflexes are probably not what they used to be. I know this is the case for my dad too. I've always looked at him as such a pillar of driving prowess. And, he can fix anything, and which I didn't necessarily quite inherit, but maybe that's just a story too. Or maybe I was just lazy and don't want to fix things. Play dumb and let someone else fix it. No, but he's just very handy, very capable, and he's getting older. He's in his 70s and he's, his driving. My mom's been more worried about his driving. And so, put yourself in their shoes. It probably isn't easy for these very manly, capable men to start losing some of their abilities, And so if you can approach it from that perspective, and even reinforce that part of his insecurity, right? When you were talking to him, if you were to say, hey, I've always trusted, your driving has always been impeccable and I've trusted it so much. And, so it's probably me, not you, for my own anxiety here. I think this is just something bubbling up in me. It's like the old saying, you can catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. And just putting yourself in their shoes, right? And maybe that's not I want to find an alternate to that. I'm not really trying to kill things per se, but I guess, you get the idea. You catch more flies with honey than vinegar. Being sour with someone, being sweet with someone is always going to be a better way. Build bridges, not walls. And if there's you're the one to construct the bridge. Don't wait for anyone else to do it. You who are listening to this, you're the one. Find a more creative way to deal with that interaction that's going to you're a very creative being. You are the creator in physical. You are the emanation of the source that creates all things. That's how creative you are. How often have you been using that creativity is a whole nother thing, right? Have you been using it to problem solve these types of situations like Whitney had? Probably a lot of times you haven't. So I'm challenging you to think outside the box, how you can create a bridge, how you can create unity between you and the other person that diffuses the problem, right? I saw a quote, and I'm not sure who said it, but I'll read it just because it seems appropriate. It said, being nice to nice people is great, but being nice to those who are not nice to you is how the world becomes better. We should not want to defeat or humiliate those we don't agree with, but to win their friendship and understanding. Seek more to understand than to be understood, as St. Francis of Assisi, I believe, said. And that is the path. This is the path to becoming the next greatest and grandest version of yourself. And that may come the next time you are plundering down the ski hill. Another great quote I saw the other day: what's blocking the way is the way. This woman was blocking the way on Whitney's ski hill, and she is the way to greater and deeper understanding. When you understand it's always happening for you, not to you, and there is a lesson, there is a message, something there for you, you transform all of this bitterness and anger and resentment that we're just done with. Enough of that nonsense. It just comes from not truly understanding what the heck's going on. You've had enough. I've had enough. Let the healing begin. Sound a vocal trumpet if you can make a vocal trumpet noise, because Mike Love does it in this song called Let the Healing Begin. Till next time, journey well. Love you all so, so much. Also, before we cue up today's song, as a quick reminder, don't forget to download the Golden Key audio or ebook as my free gift to you at goldenkey.gift using the Golden Key code POSITIVEHEAD. And please, if you enjoy my gift, leave a positive review on Amazon so others can unlock their lives with the help of the Golden Key as well.
Let the healing begin. Oh, open up and let the love flow in. Let hope and joy come and destroy your suffering. Oh, let the healing begin. 'Cause we've been down for too long in Babylon. Got to be strong, time to move on. We can't go further and no more beating our fist upon the door. Won't take no more. We'll stand there waiting, contemplating on the power of the most high. Just to believe, to be deceived by these cowards. So Babylon, I'm fading from your sight. Oh Babylon, I'm fading from your sight. Because I know it's gonna be alright if I give up this fight and get some sleep tonight. Cause fighting never did solve anything, and love is all that time I have to bring. Because I'd rather jump and dance and sing and spend my time swimming in love everlasting. Cause if everything they say is true, then there's no hope for me, no hope for you too. So don't you believe a single word they say. Cause they're the ones who got us in this fix we're in. So let the healing begin. Oh, open up and let the love flow in. Let hope and joy come and destroy your suffering. Hey, let the healing begin. Say is true, but I got hope for me, I got hope for you too. So don't you believe a single word they say. Hey, cause we're the ones who come to fix this mess we're in. So let the healing begin. Oh, open up and let the love flow in. Let hope and joy come and destroy your suffering. Let the healing begin. Oh Babylon, I'm fading from your sight. Oh Babylon, I'm fading from your sight. Because I know it's gonna be alright if I give up this fight to get some sleep tonight. Cause fighting never did solve anything, and love is all that time I have to bring. Because I'd rather jump and dance and sing and spend my time swimming in love everlasting.